tell you in a manner so that you will know that you have worked really hard, and all the teachers prior to you have worked really hard and have done a great job in our school system teaching. And with this new assessment, if you're not careful and you don't put it in its rightful place, then it can, when you first get your results, it can be overwhelming, okay? And so that is my purpose in coming today, is to kind of take a minute to remind you of factual things so that you can put everything in its right perspective, and also encourage you on how we're going to respond to the new assessment that we are all going to be working with.
Dalton McCoy, please come to the front office. Dalton McCoy, please come to the front office.
We find him. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about reading. That seems to be an area that our kids have always had to work really, really hard with. I chose reading to discuss because it is such a foundational skill, and it is one that overlaps every content area. Doesn't matter whether you're teaching math, science, social studies, whether you're teaching band, whether you're teaching chorus, it does not matter. You have to have the ability to read and to read well to handle those subject matters. So that's the reason why I chose reading to talk about the state expectations with you today. Go ahead, Matthew. Matthew is my guide. He's the one that's helping me today, all right? So when we talk about reading, it's really important that we focus in on the history of reading in Washington County schools and in the state of Georgia. In the 2013 and 2014, which was the last year that we gave the CRCT, and the last year that we gave the graduation test, this is the actual state results for reading in the state of Georgia, from 3rd grade all the way up through high school. If you look, you can see that the state was at 92 for 3rd grade. Washington County was at 92. We were dead on the state average, which that's very difficult for us. Really, really proud of that for our 3rd grade teachers. 4th grade was 94. Waco was at 87. 5th grade was at 95. Waco was at 94. 6th grade was at 97. Waco was at 96. 7th grade was at 95. Waco was at 95. 8th grade was at 97. Waco was at 94. Literature was at 88. Waco was at 82. American Lit was at 93. And Waco was at 88. So you can see that we as a school district were either right at the state level, and we were all around it. If we dropped a little bit below, we were right there on it. So our children have a history of that particular last year of being very strong readers. That's the point I want to make across to you. And not only, if you look at prior to that, they had a strong history of reading. I just chose the last year that they took this exam. Okay? Go ahead. Our senior class last year and the year before, actually last year our graduation rate we think is hovering somewhere around 97%. We're not quite sure until we get our final results, but we do believe it's going to be somewhere around in that neighborhood. This is the first year the graduation rate does not include the graduation test. Okay? The graduation rate, the last time that we took that test, along with our special ed kids and their special ed diploma, we topped out around somewhere along the neighborhood of 85%. You come a long way. You've done a great job in this high school with that. But at the same time, I began to focus in on post-secondary options. It wasn't enough just to get our children to graduate from high school, but we needed to begin to look at where were our kids going after high school. What direction were they headed? And you've heard me talk about that for the last couple of years at the beginning of the year conversations that I've had with you. And looking at that, in 2014, we had right at 61% of our kids actually accepted into post-secondary options. I never look at applied, because applied is not, to me, good enough. I have to look at accepted, and 61% were accepted. For 2015, we're looking at the neighborhood of about 60%, which again, I think that's really great for the kids that we have. That's not where I'm satisfied with. That's not where I'm going to rest, because I'm going to increase this. The goal is to get that higher. Unless we've got hundreds of thousands of jobs out here for kids and adult people to have, it's really imperative that we do look at trying to continue to increase that so that they will have options for jobs outside of their life. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're up against. Now, my whole thought process is, so, Donna, 2013-14, 61% of the kids went on to college, were accepted into college. That means they had the scores to get there. They had the other outside exams that allowed them to be there. 85% of them graduated. Go back to the other slide with the reading for me. Okay, 88% of them were reading on grade level, right? 82% of them were reading on grade level, well enough to read an on grade level test. Am I right? That's pretty good, isn't it? All right, so let's go on. Go ahead. So then we get this new test. This new test. This new test has 4 different levels. It has the beginning learner. That means just what it is. They are beginning to supposedly learn in that particular subject area. Developing means there's some partial proficiency there. You can actually move from one grade to another grade on developing. You can be promoted to the next grade on being a developing learner. Proficient doesn't mean that you just met grade level. What it means is you are beyond basic. You are that strong. If you think about the old exams, we had the does not meet, meet, and exceeds, right? And then we had those kids that met that were those bubble kids. We used to call them bubble kids. And we would look to see who was right on the brink or who barely passed, right? If you're proficient, there's no barely passing. There's no bubble there. You are considered to be completely strong in what you're doing. Those bubble kids have fell into this category of developing learner. And then we've got the distinguished learner or the advanced learner. Those children are functioning sometimes 2, 3, 4 grade levels ahead in whatever they're working on. That's how advanced they are. They just did not exceed the expectation. They blew the expectation out of the water. Okay? So it's real important that when you're looking at these exams, that you know the difference between the 4. This is the only level right here that you would consider yourself as failing or that far behind. The 3 levels here, the state of Georgia says are levels that will be enough for you to move forward. With tutoring and extra help, you should be able to develop and move forward in your skill set. And that's the reason why it's important that you understand the difference in the levels. Because, in the next slide, this is the test results for the state of Georgia. You don't have yours yet. You are going to have yours soon. Matter of fact, I'm hoping they're going to be here sometime this week. If we look at this for 3rd grade, the state of Georgia has 33% of the children in this state are at the beginning level. Developing is at 30, proficient 26, and only 10% at distinguished learner. Okay? 10% at distinguished. that I have 63% of the kids in the state of Georgia in 3rd grade that need some type of assistance. Right? Right? By this new test, this new expectation of reading. Now, I want to drop on down here to 4th grade. If I look at 4th grade, I've got 29% beginning. I've got 34% developing. You do the math. 63% of these children are falling in needing some type of work, right? I want you to go back to the CRCT screen. So, those particular 4th graders were what the previous year? 3rd grade. Oh, wait a minute. 92% of the 3rd graders that were 4th graders, we're comparing apples to apples for the state of Georgia. 92% of them could pass this exam. There were only 8% in the state of Georgia that were not proficient. Now, I'm going to say that again. There was only 8% in the state that were not proficient. Okay? Now, go back up to the other slide. How many did we say were not proficient in the new exam? 63. That's the reason why I wanted to come to you today. You're going to have to put the exam in its rightful place. Looking at the others, which is your American Lit, right? Will you take that test in what grade? 11th grade, right? So our 11th grade class, which is seniors right now, if you look at that, if you do the math, 25 to 39, how many you got? 64, right? 64% of them are at the beginning or the developmental stages for their reading. Let's go back to the CRCT. So they would have taken the Lit probably the year before this one, right? Is that right? 2 years. I promise you, go back and go on to the LDS system, and I promise you that that Lit is going to be high. Did I say LDS?
Say go
Yes,
back.
thank you. No, we can't go back there. All right, but you're going to find that your scores were somewhere around in the 80 percentiles of pass rates. So you might have had 12, 13, 14% that was not ready for the reading. Okay? Reading's reading. Reading's reading. Except something changed. Okay? So, let's go on. What changed? Shifted. Now, y'all can call shifted a different name if you want to, but we had some shifting going on, okay? And the shifting going on has to do with the level of expectation. I'm not going to make you laugh on that. It has to do with the level of expectation. There's 2 things that happen. Number 1 is it takes more questions right to get it right. Okay? In order for you to pass the exam, you've got to get more of those questions correct. The second thing is the rigor of the test. The types of questions that those children are being asked to respond to is much more difficult. From the type of writing that they're having to do to the way that they're having to analyze the pieces that they are reading. How many of you have children in 3rd grade now? Raise your hand. 4th grade? Thank you. 5th grade? 6th grade? Well, one of the things that I hope you notice, I'm not going to go any further, as those of you that have our younger children growing through, is you should be noticing that in their language arts block, they are doing a lot of response writing, and they are actually comparing pieces of literature with magazine pieces, news articles, etc. They're doing more argumentative, I call it argumentative writing. Okay, which is what it is. Where you are making a statement, you are making an argument for why you believe what you believe, and you are supporting it with details. Argumentative writing. Alright? So they are actually being taught that right now, presently, at a younger age. I promise you, we didn't teach that several years ago. No. We taught main idea, cause and effect, what happened first, what happened second, what happened third. Those are the kinds of things we taught in the lower grades. That was the expectations of the standards. That was the expectations of the exam. But all of that has shifted. So what we have got to do is we've got to shift with it as a district. We've got to shift with it. We've got to provide those different experiences in reading for our children that's going to better prepare them for these kinds of exams. What you're offering them is a college career-ready curriculum. And the expectations is that the assessment will follow such. So go ahead. So, we could throw up our hands and say, oh my God, what are we going to do with this new exam? What are we going to do with this information? We can run to the hills. No, we can't. Some of you have college tuition to pay for your child, so there's no running to the hills for you. Some of you have 15 years in. I love you, but there's no running for you. Some of you may have 30 years in. There may be running for you, but if you looked at your bills like I looked at my bills, there's no running for you. Okay? So what we have to do is we've got to work with it, we've got to embrace it, and we've got to figure out just what we've always done as educators. We've got to figure out what we're going to do next. I don't know a person in this room, when I look around this room, that just says, well, I guess we just ought to do nothing. Because when I look across this room, I know all of you. I know of you, some of you a little bit more personal than others. But what I do know about you collectively is that you are extremely smart people. And I don't say that lightly. Having worked with you, side by side with you, there is so much knowledge and understanding and smarts in this room, it's not even funny. Okay? And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it. You ought to know enough about me to know that. All right? But I truly 100% believe that. So the answers for all the solutions of how to work through that is in this round room. It's not out there. It's not down the road. It's surely not under the gold dome. But the answers is right in here for how we're going to man up and we're going to address the issue and work with it. Okay? Or then what I call the issue being the new expectation. Okay? So, we're going to review practice for improvements. Y'all already started that. Y'all are working with literacy. Y'all are targeting content areas. Some of you say, well, I didn't go to school to be a reading teacher. Well, hallelujah. I didn't want to go to school to be a math teacher, but I still have to do my checkbook. Okay? So, the bottom line is it's all integrated. So the quicker you are in your content areas of recognizing a literacy skill and strengthening that literacy skill for that student in the confine of your particular content, then when they get ready to work on their milestones or any other area, they're going to be able to make those connections across the board, and they're going to be able to deliver that type of writing, that type of information, not only on those exams, but in college as well, whether they're going to technical college or whether they're going to a 4-year college or a 2-year college. Because the expectation is that they've got to go somewhere else. How many of you have finished looking into health care and you are already signed up for your health care? That's what I thought. Go ahead and raise your hand if you are, because I need to shake your hand. Yes, I love you. I'm so glad. No, I haven't finished it. You know why? I mean, I have put that thing off and put it off because, my God, I just don't want to read it. I'm being honest. And then I got to sit down and I got to figure out which one is going I got a little booklet and I got to choose it. I'm sorry, 32 years ago when I started this job, I didn't even have a choice. The school system had it all and told me, guess what, Donna, this is the insurance you've got. But I have to have enough literacy skills in me that I can even select my own health care. That's how everything is moving up and what people have to be able to do. And if you don't have good literacy skills, you can't even get health care because you cannot decipher what's in front of you to make a good choice for your life. So it gets way past college. It gets on down personal to just how you're going to live as a person. Then we've got tracking students. We're going to track our kids. We've got screeners we're really working with. We're working, y'all already given one, the SRI screener. Oh, wasn't that a hoot? Have y'all taken the test yet? Oh, was that not a hoot? Yeah. Oh my God. I started taking that thing and I was like, when is this test going to be through? Not only that, think about the background knowledge you had to have to put the pieces together for was it even in the paragraph or the passage you were reading. I had to come up with some of my own background knowledge just because of life experiences that I could put with it to answer the question. But just think about the children that have less and less background experiences to put with that. It is a tough test. I took right behind it the STAR test, because it's been a long time since I took the STAR test. The STAR test was a piece of cake. That was like a cakewalk compared to this SRI test. So, what we're hoping is this SRI test, the basic will kind of end up being the developing. We don't know. We're going to give it a whole year and see how it works and how it works with the test data coming in. Because we figure that the stronger our screeners are, then the quicker we can get the interventions to the children that are going to be needing more help to read like this and trying to prepare them to be better readers like this new level of reading. Okay? So, that's what we're kind of working with, and that's what we're trying to figure out. Our DIBELS assessment we are using in the primary grades, which is given one-on-one teacher and student. Because in the primary years, you really have to listen to those children read aloud. And the DIBELS will allow that. Right? So we're working hard on that. And I think that in the long run, that it will strengthen our overall reading program so that our children will be able to handle this new breed of test, okay? Or this new level of assessment. So let's go on. So in 1920, we're all in our places with shiny faces. We're sitting doubled up. What do we have in our hand? Our textbooks, our reading book. We're ready to read. We're all facing what? We're all facing what? We're all facing in the front, right? We're ready for that teacher, right? Okay, this is 1920. All right, let's get on into the modern world.
Like Shelby Carter.
All right?
Right.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is 2015. Okay. No children yet. Our rows are all what? Facing forward. We have our books on our desk. Ready? Go back to the 1920s. Go back to the 2015. This is why we get criticized. You want to know why we get criticized? This is why we get criticized. This is why. We are giving children a 1920s education in 2015. And we cannot do that. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. That's the reason why our politicians and our business people, they're hot on our backs as a profession. They say that we're unwilling to change. So what they're going to do is they're going to force us to change. You won't change, you will change. That's what they're saying to us. as a profession. We'll break it up. We'll break public school up. You want change? We'll break this bad boy up. We'll invent our own schools. Better pay attention to what you're reading in the headlines and what's coming out from underneath the gold dome. We'll let the money follow the child, and we'll put them where they'll be educated. Because the world has changed, and we've got to change with it. What does that mean? What does that really mean? Go on. So let's talk about it. Curriculum. The old textbook driven, very, very heavily textbook driven. We turn from page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to page 4, etc. Highly QCC based, which is an objective based curriculum. Prior to that, an objective based curriculum. Now we've moved it right around. Standards is what's driving the curriculum. Whether you like the standard or not, whether you like Common Core or not, guess what? It does not matter. The standard is the standard is the standard. And that's what it's built on. So with the standards being the primary thing that we are looking at to drive our instruction, then all of these other things, textbooks, websites, software, units that you get offline, all of those wealth of resources is what you have to teach it. But what you're not teaching is textbooks by itself. Even though textbooks are great. But these kids today, if they start leaning over your desk and yawning out loud, and they're squirming so hard they can't sit in your desk, yoo-hoo. It's because you're boring. These kids are used to interacting. They're used to moving and doing and participating. That's the kid that's sitting in front of you. Not the ones that are just going to idly sit by you. They're not going to do that. So, instruction. It was heavily teacher-centered. The teacher was the dispenser of knowledge. Some group work, lots of worksheet-driven. That blue purple monster that you used to crank up, and we put all 900 of them things out. See, I'm dating myself. All right, and then what happened? The switch. The present classroom is student-centered. Engage them. Does the teacher never instruct? No. The teacher does a lot of initial instructs, but they also are that guide on the side. They're also working with those kids as they are learning. A lot of group work, a lot of collaboration, a lot of technology integrated. Why? Because when they go to work for IBM, they're going to work in groups of people. If they go to Geico and sell insurance, they're going to ring the bells every time somebody sells insurance. They're going to have pizza. They're going to have a party. They're going to put their numbers on the wall. They're going to stop and collaborate and talk about who they actually sold the insurance to. I know, because I have almost a daughter-in-law that does this. It's not the same type of work environment. They're going to collaborate with their peers. They're going to work with technology. Assessments. We're used to giving 9 weeks test. Everybody gave their own test. Every now and then I would pair up with Miss So-and-so's because me and her were really good friends, and we were teaching some of the same kind of tests. So I would show her some of my test questions, and she'd show me some of her test questions, and then we would make us a really good test, or I would make my own test, and I hope everybody else on my hall did a really good job. I really am not sure, because I really wasn't concerned with anybody but myself. Okay? And then I always gave my chapter book test at the end of the year because it came next in the book. And then the book also had a great semester test that I used. Okay? No common assessments anywhere. End of the year, very individualized, multiple choice, a whole standalone writing test. the shift happened, y'all. Formative assessments. Common formative assessments. Why common? Why should we be having common assessments? Because we got to collaborate together. Like I said, in this walls here is the smartest people I know in high school. I wouldn't visit. You're the best high school group ever in anywhere in this region area. This is the best high school in a Coney area. I promise you. So when y'all get together as an English department and start looking at that information and seeing what it's telling you, I know that y'all are smart enough to figure out what we're going to do next. I know that. I believe it. Same way with math. I believe that. So summative assessments, common, the end of the year, there's multiple choice. Oh my goodness. Construct response, argumentative writing. The test is so different. So is our common assessments reflecting that kind of information that they've got to produce? Not just in content, but in the other classes as well. Then data. End of year. We're doing a little different this year with that. Prior to this, we would all at leadership in the summer, we would look at our test scores, we would discuss it, we would come up with ideas among our leadership group, and we would talk about it, and then we would give it to everybody else on the first days of school. This is your data. Take your data and look at it. This is what we see. Okay, no. We gotta rethink that. After we give those formative tests, those common in, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it in the English department, in the math department. When those tests come back at the end of the year, y'all need to be talking about it and thinking about it. What are we going to do with this? Or what do we need to change? So that it's at the door of the classroom. The data starts, first of all, with you. That's the flip on this. Prior to this, it always started in the district office, to your leadership team, then to you. It's going right the opposite. Starting with you, to the leadership team at your high school, to the district. All right? And why? Because your new evaluation system goes to that classroom door. Okay? And that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. And we'll have that. But that goes directly to your door. All right? So it's good for you to manipulate and to know your data. So these are just some of the things that popped into my mind. And the new are the many things that we are working on as a district now to assess the children. Now, what I didn't put down here, I didn't put the child, okay? Because I'll be honest with you. Been in it a long time, y'all know that. Children's needs are the same. They hadn't changed. Children want to be respected. 32 years ago, they wanted to be respected. They wanted to be loved, not taken advantage of, loved. They wanted to feel safe. They still want to feel safe. The biggest thing that kids have had to overcome, in my opinion, over the last 32 years, doesn't happen in this schoolhouse for the most part, is they come from some really hard situations. But you know, so what? When they come in this door, they come into the safe situation. They come into your classrooms where you are the game changer in their lives. You are the one that feeds that life into them, that proactiveness, that life. And some of you come in here and you need the same thing done for you. These might feed some life to you. Because you've been after it all weekend and you've been beat up during the week with somebody that won't do the homework, somebody won't do that, somebody didn't do this, somebody didn't do that. So every now and then you need a little boost of morning too. Which is why it's really good that y'all have that common time to work with each other on the same thing. One of the things I always tell somebody, as a profession, this is the mark of a profession. The mark of a profession is they know how to collaborate with each other, and they work on things together, and they model for each other what to do. Same way with a doctor. They collaborate with other doctors. They work in teams with each other. They even watch each other perform surgery because they learn from each other. And you are the same way. You are a professional group of people. You are professionals. And so when you tell me something, I listen. Now, if you tell me, oh, Donna, go change the state test, you need to do this, I'm going to say, yeah, when Donkey's 5, I can't do that. You lost your mind? When Teeks and Lee's all just throw that on out there, Donna, throw that on out there, send that back to the state. Well, I gave it my best shot a week ago. All right? Told them exactly what I thought about it. But that doesn't matter. Because the truth of the matter is, this ship is sailed. And we've got work to do. We've got work to do. And this is the area of the new work. This is what we're working on. And I want you to remember, if you don't remember it, 2 things I want you to remember. Number 1 is that your children have done a really good job and you've worked really hard. I don't care what these tests come in here to say about the hospital. And they're going to be in here in a couple of weeks. That's the reason why I'm having this conversation with you. Because when you look at them and you see the failure rates, you consider failure rates as educators, you're going to think, what did I do last year? Well, I'm going to tell you what you did. You worked really hard and you did a good job. Okay? Because some of those same children, off those failure rates, are sitting in college right now. Right? So we're not going to get freaked out by this. But what we are going to do is we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to look at what we can do and how we can make it better. And how we can work differently and how we can ensure that we're getting those kids where we need for them to go for this future exams. Does that make sense to you? All right. Come on. The last thing, and this is in closing, and then I'll take any of your questions. I think the biggest failure that you will have is the failure not to change. That's the biggest failure you have, is the failure not to change. Any questions from y'all? All right. Was it helpful to at least look at the data so that you can see the differences of where kids have come from? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. If you have any concerns, don't hesitate to talk to me about it. Like I said, we're all in this together. As these scores come out, we're all in this together. And we've got to be on the same page of this as we're working through this. Because you've done a great job, and we all need to remember that. Because they can be kind of demoralizing when you have 67% that don't agree with it. Would you not agree? Yes. Yes.
When I look at those charts, and you're like the 3rd grader, those 3rd grade kids, I look at those kids as like the base model. If you follow that 3rd grade class through their next 9 years of education, if their score progressively go up, like the seniors that I have now, it's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, if that makes sense to you, the way I look at that score. There might be a rise in like the 10th, but it won't be like the gap you'll see as they graduate. Because this is, I mean, the state expects, I don't know, it seems like they always want it to flip over overnight. They want everything, but it's a slow process.
You are so right.
Because you can't compare, that's like on our graduation test, I don't see how you compare the graduating class from last year, because it's 2 totally different people.
Yes. And that's the reason why I asked a while ago how many of you had 3rd graders, how many of you had 4th graders, how many of you had 5th graders, because the kinds of ways that they're being taught now to tackle those reading passages and things are so different than the way your 11th and 12th graders are taught. And so it's just a very, very different type of level of what they're being asked to do. So you're right, Jim. It's going to take a minute. But over time, after those kids have gone through that kind of rigorous instruction for that type of exam, I look for it. Sometimes when we see things, you know, if I could take the time to come and talk to you about it, I'm really doing that so you won't just freak out when you see it. I don't want you to think, oh my God, I did teach. I know you taught. And so instead of somebody else telling you that for me, I just thought I'd come to you. I can do my own tell you. And I appreciate you bringing that out, because that is the truth. Or anything else that's any other truths that you saw? Any other thing? All right, I think the most important slide you're left with is the last slide with between the old and the new, and working on your classrooms to try to bring in and incorporate more of the new. If you're still teaching 1920s, then you got a problem. And the children are telling you. If you listen to them, they'll tell you. They'll yawn out loud. Oh my God! We got to do this again. Oh, they do. My first graders used to do that. That's how I knew I was just really boring them to death, when they would just lay over the table. See, little children, they don't even have any scruples about it. I mean, they just lean over the table. Oh my God! I mean, they just tell you. That's code for you are boring. Okay? So when they do that, there's your sign. When half of them are asleep in your room, there's your sign. Okay? You got to get them engaged. If you engage them, you won't be able to stop them. They love to do what? They love to talk. They love to talk. They are participatory. They are participatory. If you try to just stand up and talk to them, that's going to last for just a few minutes, and then they are going to out-talk you, because they want to participate. Think about it. Their games are handheld. Everything they do is about them. Think about who's sitting in your desk, and then design your instruction around who's sitting in your desk, and I promise you, you will have less headaches, and your etc. bottle will be a whole lot better. Okay, but if you keep trying to shove that into that hole, and you're not taking it into the camp and kid, you're gonna have a headache. Besides a nervous breakdown. All right. Besides kissy fits or cussing fits, whatever you call it. All right. That's all I got to say today. Anyway, let me know if there's anything I can do for you, okay? I'm gonna sit down and let him talk.
We're done. It's 4:30, so anything that I have, you can pick it up at the next meeting. Any questions?
Picture of 1920, I think Miss Doolittle was on that.